The Wall Street Journal recently published a highly sensational report on Nord Stream yesterday, and according to this, Zelensky undoubtedly approved the attack on Nord Stream, and our traffic light coalition knew about it. And with that, the traffic light coalition has committed high treason against its own people. Immediate consequences must follow, both for the traffic light coalition and Ukraine. Let's take a look at this report. Here we go. Before we dive into the video, a quick note from me. Personally, I still believe that the USA is behind the explosion of Nord Stream, either directly or indirectly through a commission. Nevertheless, more and more media are presenting us with the story of Ukraine and are now providing new evidence. And if this evidence is really true, then it would certainly be the worst-case scenario for the entire West, especially for Ukraine and our traffic light coalition, because they are all deeply involved in the matter. And that means immediate consequences. The Wall Street Journal wrote yesterday, "A drunken evening, a rented yacht." The real story of the Nord Stream pipeline sabotage. Private businessmen founded the sharing operation, which was overseen by a top general. President Zelensky approved the plan, then try Landsatzwollig ordet auf. And in German, that means a drunken evening, a rented yacht. The true story of the sabotage of the Nord Stream pipeline. Private businessmen financed the small operation, which was overseen by a top and influential general, and carefully and meticulously, President Zelensky ultimately agreed to the plan and then unsuccessfully tried to call it off. Wow, this really absolutely blows your mind. According to this incredible media report from a reputable source, even the President Zelensky is involved and he approved the explosion. So exactly the kind of man to whom Germany is sending billions upon billions in aid and military equipment and goods. I mean, Germany alone has already sent approximately 23 billion in aid to Ukraine already. And this year, another 4 billion has been approved for 2025. And for what? Exactly, really, truly, indeed. As a thank you for the destruction of our vital energy infrastructure. And although the headline clearly and explicitly states that Zelensky was considering calling off the explosion, it wasn't of his own accord, but because, in fact, the USA got wind of it and forbade him. Ukrainian President Zelensky initially agreed to the plan, according to involved official and 3 people familiar with the matter. But later, when the Americans subsequently found out and urged the Ukrainian president to pull the plug, he ordered a stop, the people said. Zelensky's commander-in-chief Zelenskyj, who led the operation, successfully made progress. The journal spoke with 4 senior Ukrainian defense security officials who were either involved in the conspiracy or had direct knowledge of it. Everyone said the pipeline was indeed a legitimate target in Ukraine's defensive war against Russia. Parts of their statements were confirmed by an almost 2-year investigation of the attack by the German police, during which evidence such as emails, mobile phone and satellite phone communications, as well as fingerprints and DNA samples of the suspected sabotage team were secured. The German investigators have not directly linked President Zelensky to the secret and covert operation, allegedly. So we can indeed establish here that, according to the newspaper, both President Zelensky and his then top commander and army chief Zelenskyj not only knew about the explosion, but also approved and carried it out themselves, the fact that they themselves were directly involved. And I mean, now you just simply have to put 2 and 2 together. If both the top political authoritative leadership and also the top military authoritative leadership are responsible for this explosion, then that is a declaration of war by Ukraine against Germany. And even EU Chief von der Leyen herself definitely demanded harsh consequences for the perpetrators at the time. And I wonder if Ukraine knew about it back then and was aware of its words, or would it perhaps suddenly write something different now, possibly implying that it was Ukraine. Because one thing is definitely clear. If a country declares war on us, we must respond to it politically and militarily. Immediately, but under no circumstances should we send another 4 billion euros to this country. That's what I believe. And even the newspaper writes that an attack of this magnitude is indeed a significantly sufficient reason to trigger the collective defense clause of the Defense Alliance. In fact, our critical infrastructure was completely blown up by a country that we heavily support with massive arms deliveries and billions in financial aid, said a senior German official familiar with the matter. And with that, we now indeed come to the next point, which shows that Germany, and thus the federal government, was informed. The newspaper further writes that the idea of the Nord Stream explosion was developed in May 2022 and coordinated with General Salushny. Within a few days, Zelensky then agreed to the plan. According to the 4 people familiar with the plot, the discussions were conducted orally and left no paper trail. However, the following month, the Dutch military intelligence learned about the plot and warned the USA, according to several people familiar with the Dutch report. US officials then immediately and promptly informed the German government authorities. Thus, US and German officials, according to the US intelligence agency, it is believed that Germany was informed shortly after these plans emerged. So in approximately May 22nd or June 22nd, this means that Germany, and thus automatically the federal government, were aware of this situation 2 to 3 months before the actual explosion and did not prevent it. They neither made it public in any way, nor did they prevent it themselves at all, nor did they take any action with Ukraine in any manner. So instead of responding to this declaration of war by Ukraine, they obediently and without hesitation sent more billions to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, and all inquiries from members of the Bundestag on this topic were rejected by the Traffic Light Coalition on the grounds that it would endanger national security. I had reported several times that Sarah Wagenknecht had inquired with the federal government, but the requests were consistently and repeatedly blocked. And now it is also very clear why they were absolutely blocked. Because according to this report, the Traffic Light Coalition knew about the explosion and did not prevent it. And they even continued to work with Zelensky and Zelenskyj. And that, my dear viewers, means one thing. Our government committed high treason against the German people and should be immediately and without delay imprisoned for it, without any hesitation. What do you think about these shocking reports? And what should happen next? Feel free to write your assessment in the comments below the video.